Peace and love, you beautiful miracles of spiritual level of being. Nathan here from a spiritual level of being, and you have a spiritual level of being. And today I want to discuss the rapture. Now, this is a mistranslation, it's misused. Now, in Greek, depending on the context of use, it could mean someone in ecstatic happiness or an atmosphere of celebration, one who's been seized, kidnapped, abducted. The whole idea of the Antichrist pretending to be Jesus and misleading those so they're not raised up into the sky is an idea of Hollywood. Now, also books such as Left Behind, who were influenced by the preacher John Nelson Darby in the 19th century, who was really popularizing dispensationalism. Now, he in turn was influenced by older works of Increase Mather and Cotton Mather in the 16th centuries, so 17th century. Now, and also 18th. Now, this being said, Increase Mather had sort of a revelation, if you will, or a contradiction in the Bible that he couldn't accept that good Christians would be left behind during the apocalypse or have to witness the beast before seeing the second coming of Jesus. Now, this whole idea of humans being lifted up into the sky, you have to take into account oxygen, space. Some films had such clothes being left behind and souls being ascended. Now, before all this idea of heaven being up in the sky or the universe, it was within you. The kingdom of heaven is within you and outside of you, that you are the kingdom. Now, again, this goes back to Gnostic teachings that they removed in order to become the mainstream Christian group that we have today, which was Roman influenced, politically influenced, even throughout the many generations, and still is. Now, the whole idea of human bodies going to heaven is really pagan in origin, as say Egyptians, ancient Romans would believe that we would go with our flesh in the afterlife, in a sense. Our bodies would be reincarnated, if you will, in heaven, and we could have sex and we could eat and drink in the afterlife, etc. Now, again, this idea of the rapture was really popularized amongst America, especially after the Civil War, especially amongst Christian evangelist groups. Now, Cotton Mather wrote over 300 books, many of which were prayers and sermons. He even wrote a book called The Negro Christianizers. He believed that it was okay to own slaves and that black people and white people would be equal in heaven. Now, he argued with Richard Baxter, who was against Christians owning other Christians as slaves. His main political rival was Samuel Sewall, who was against slavery, period. Though he was no saint, as he was involved with the witch trials, as so was Cotton Mather. Now, his father was the leader of the Puritan movement in the 17th century, which was basically English Protestants, and their family in turn were related to preachers. Now, Cotton Mather kept slaves, as did many Christians at the time. Now, he also had indebted servants, which were basically people who saw in debt that they swore themselves into slavery in a sense, but had more rights until they paid off their debts. Now, this whole idea of revelation has been taken out of context, as this story is mostly symbolic. It could have been written by more than one person. It was definitely was not written by the person it claims to be written by. And if it's a copy of a copy of a copy, in a sense, it's possible that John was on psychedelics during this writing. Now, or he went crazy, if you will, from his exile and not speaking to anyone. So, loneliness, etc. Now, again, this whole idea of being raptured up into heaven and the skies, before this, the kingdom of heaven was within you. You are the kingdom. So we're going earlier roots into Gnosticism. So all this idea of heaven being outside of you was to separate the Gnostic text into what would become the mainstream Christianity text, which in turn would condemn them as witches and heretics. They were okay with slavery, okay with war. They were mixing in the idea of this war god of Judaism in with Christianity, as original Christians seen this god as the devil. Now, they didn't worship Yahweh. Now, arguably, well, some did. And the reason I'm going to say this is because many crowds followed Yeshua. The original Christian groups would belong to the Essenes and the Gnostics. But there were also other people following Yeshua, as Canaanites were following him, Phoenicians, Zoroastrians, Greeks, etc. Even Zealot Jews. So many different communities that followed him, as the Canaanites believed that Jesus was Yahweh in the flesh and the son of El. Now, some Essene communities believed this too, as they most likely mixed in with the Phoenician groups. There were Essene Gnostics that rejected this idea, that believed that we were all sons of God, that we were all sons of the living Father, the Father and the Mother were one and the same. You had the idea of El and Asherah, so etc. All these different ideas of philosophies, intermingling with different groups and bringing in different philosophies that would eventually make up what we have now in Christianity. So we have all these different ideas coming together, as all religions do change, and all religions do shitty things. So peace and love, everyone. I love you all. Connect to one mind and soul. Namaste.